Hello, everybody, and welcome again to Limitless and to our live stream and to our broadcast. I'm excited about tonight and what we're going to talk about in this particular show. Now, some of you may have tuned in expecting to hear Sharika teach on the 5 ways that we express and receive love, because that is what we advertised. However, because today is the World Day Against Trafficking, we wanted to do a special broadcast tonight. And next week, Sharika will teach us on the 5 love languages. So please tune in next week. But today, as I mentioned, is a very important day internationally because it's the day that the world is taking time out to be aware of the issue of human trafficking. It's a horrible, outrageous, saddening, sickening issue that we have in our day and generation. Do you know over 40 million people around the world are in some form of slavery or exploitation? Very sad. And so all day here at Global Impact, we've been doing media broadcasts and things with our partner agencies that we are a part of here in the Philippines to fight trafficking in our region, in the country, and also internationally. And today, whenever you're watching, I have asked a special guest to come be with me. And she's a leader in our region and very respected in her knowledge in trafficking and prosecuting trafficking. She's with the Department of Justice. And I want to talk to her about trafficking as well as just some things from her own life about how she has broken through barriers and broken limitation. So we're going to do both in tonight's broadcast. So I just want to take the time right now to welcome you, Attorney Barbara Mae Flores, right? That's the full official name, yes. And you are the Deputy Regional Director of Department of Justice.
Deputy Regional Prosecutor.
Okay, thank you.
Same.
Deputy Regional Prosecutor of the Department of Justice here in the Philippines. Tell us a bit more about what you do, what your role is with the Department of Justice.
As the Deputy Regional Prosecutor, I prosecute cases, but since I'm also the Chief of Operations of the Regional Task Force Against Human Trafficking, most of my cases involve human trafficking cases and allied cases like child abuse, child pornography. So those are the cases that we handle. So we also resolve cases, whether or not a case should go to trial. And we also do interagency activities like what we had earlier when the Interagency Council Against Trafficking just had an activity to commemorate the World Day Against Trafficking. So we also participate in those activities and sometimes lead those kind of activities.
Yes.
So basically, that's our job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How long have you been doing that?
As a prosecutor?
Yeah, you personally. Yep.
As a prosecutor, I've been oh my God, I can't even remember how long.
I'm asking you too many numbers today.
I know.
Huh?
I'm not good at numbers.
Many years, though. Many years?
Yeah, many years. I guess 10 years. Okay. More than I'm not really sure. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But with my job in IACAT, meaning in the advocacy and prosecution of trafficking in cases, that's since 2011.
Okay.
So that's roughly 9 years.
Yeah, okay. So because today is the World Day Against Trafficking, there's so much we could talk about, and we have other things online. Mm-hmm. And so we do want to take a few minutes to talk about this, and then I'm going to ask you some questions about your life and how you broke limitation. But I just want to ask you this, you are literally on the front lines, right? You are fighting this issue because you're prosecuting the cases. What's one of the worst things that you've seen, that you've experienced? How horrible is this issue here?
It's not just horrible. It's not just horrible. It's really sad.
Yeah.
Because especially when it comes to cases where the perpetrators are related to the victims, like the parents or the relatives. One of these cases is the online sexual exploitation of children. I find that kind of cases to be an insidious form of human trafficking because, number one, of course, the victims are children. Second, the perpetrators are most often than not parents or relatives. And third, because the images of these children will stay there for forever.
Yeah.
And even if they grow old, even if they become adults, the evidence of the abuse that they receive will stay in the internet. So that's one of the insidious forms of human trafficking and one of the really saddest type of human trafficking.
Yeah.
And also one thing that makes me sad is when I interview victims of human trafficking, and in the interviews we can see that there's a how do you call that? Like a breakdown in the moral fiber of the society because there's like a normalization of exploitation going on. So it's a sad thing.
Very sad.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very sad. I know we've been focusing a lot today and often, especially as the agency, the IACAT 11 on OSEC, which stands for the Online Sexual Exploitation of Children. Yeah. And unfortunately, Philippines is like number one in the world.
Yeah. In a recent study conducted by the International Justice Mission, by the IACAT, and the U.S. Department of State, law enforcement global data showed Philippines as one of the leading source of online OSEC, which is very sad again.
Sad, yeah.
And I think the reason for that is because, of course, poverty is always a factor in these kind of cases. And secondly, probably because among the different third developing countries, we are good English speaker.
Yes, I think that's a big factor.
Yeah, so we can communicate in English well and understand English well. So that's one of the factors, I guess. And also because we have so many OFWs, so there's a proliferation of money remittance centers. So it's easy for the perpetrators to send money without necessarily going to the banks. They can just use these money remittance centers, which they can even, pay online.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, big topic, big issue. We're doing our part. We're doing what we can, and we just wanted to, mention this on Limitless tonight and bring more awareness, because the more people that are aware, the more people that are educated, the more people that are having a voice, it all makes a difference. Sometimes we don't feel like it's like, what part can I do? You know what I mean? Like there's such a big problem, but yet if we all do our part, I'm a big believer in that. If we all do something, we can actually make a change.
Yes, I believe that.
So, but I want to talk to you about you, like personally a little bit. And I know you're so excited about this, but thank you for being here. And really this broadcast and this show is named Limitless, as I've shared with you, because we are approaching and broaching topics, how all of us can live a life that is limitless, right? Now, I think that's a journey. We don't just live limitless. We've got to take it step by step. But what I want to know is, we all have barriers in our life. We all have mental barriers. We have maybe ways that we grew up, things that happened to us, and we would consider it a barrier in life to moving forward. And yet I know that you're a very successful woman. You're a very successful lawyer. You're very successful in what you do. Attorney Flores is very respected in our region, and I have to say, if there's a question about trafficking, I'm usually let's ask Attorney Flores. Honestly, that's how my brain thinks. So my point in saying is that you've obviously achieved a lot in your life and specifically in your career. But what was one of the, when you look back in your life, what's one of the biggest barriers that you had to overcome?
Well, looking back, I guess one of the biggest barriers that in my life that I can remember was I grew up, I was really very shy as a child.
Okay.
But
You shy?
Yeah. I don't know if you believe that, but yeah. And so I don't have that much confidence. So I don't, in fact, up to probably in college, I never took any roles that would allow me to lead.
Really?
Or yeah, I don't like leading.
Okay.
Previously. And because I felt like I don't have the capacity or the ability to really lead even a small group of people. So I think that's one of my mental barriers.
Can I ask you some more about your childhood and like how did you grow up? Like what was your family life like?
Oh, okay. My mom was a single parent. She had me when she was really very young, and then she and my dad parted ways even before, even when I was still a baby, I think. So I wasn't able to meet my dad or see him until like 3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, because they lost communication, and my mom doesn't know where he was. So I was just able to find him through, guess what? The social media.
Yeah, right. There are
So-
benefits to social media.
I know. So
Do you have brothers and sisters or did you grow up just you and your mom or how?
just me and my mom, but I also grew up with my maternal grandparents.
Okay.
Because my mom was working in a different province, and then I was studying here in Davao. So we meet like every weekend, but the rest of the week I'm with my grandparents and stay with them. And when my mom died when I was like 18, so it was my grandparents who took over the entire responsibility.
Okay. Wow. Do you think you were saying before that you had a mindset of like I'm shy and I don't want to aspire to leadership and
Yeah.
sounds like you hid yourself a little bit. Do you think you took on that mindset because of the way you grew up, or do you know why you were like that?
Probably because when you don't have a complete family, that sort of like affects you as a child.
Sure.
Like it also affects your self-esteem. Because I've seen like families with single mothers or single parents that maybe it didn't affect the child's self-esteem, but it's different from it's a case-to-case basis. In my case, I think it affected me in such a way that I didn't have a high self-esteem because I am with my grandparents, and my grandparents have like 9 children.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, you don't grow up having the entire attention of your parents.
Right.
So I think that's a factor. I'm not sure, but I'm just guessing that's probably one of the factors, because if you have like complete set of parents and you have all their attention, you probably would be a more confident child, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something that I study and love to actually even analyze and sort of work with people, because really how we grow up, it's our formative years, literally, and that's how like our environment around us, how we're treated, how we're loved, do we feel significant, do we feel like we matter, if we're enough, so many things. So, but that's very interesting that you said that you were shy. Now, I know we have a big Filipino audience here, and I just happen to know, because I've lived here in the Philippines many years, many people here say they're shy. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any insight into that? Why so much shy?
In the Philippines?
Yeah. You've probably never been asked this before.
I don't know why. Maybe because like the Filipinos, they like making fun of you sometimes, probably, like growing up, or
That's a good. It's an interesting point. Yeah.
because the Filipino are like they like to make jokes. Maybe they made jokes at your expense or when growing up, and now you're that limits yourself from doing something, right? Like especially if that happened when you were still a child.
Sure.
But no, I really don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but I can only surmise.
It is just interesting. It's a very interesting point that you bring up because we are doing a series. We're going to do a series actually on basically love and how we receive love and give love, and we also we have an interview with several people and talking about growing up and within the Filipino culture, the ways that love is expressed and received. And so it's just quite interesting because that got brought up when we were talking about it, about like kind of bullying and making fun.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm just learning about that. Like I didn't really, I mean, I kind of knew it, but maybe because I don't, speak the language and stuff. And there's a side to it where you have fun and you kind of give somebody a hard time. But if it's consistent bullying or giving hard time to people, I think it actually really does make a difference.
Yeah, I guess so.
And that's a very interesting link you've just made to being shy. So because I've not found that shy is something that actually helps people. It usually causes them to hide, to pull back. And I'm all for all of us just being who we are. Some people have more quiet personalities. They might not be loud or, they might not be an extrovert. But for me, most of the time, shy is something that's hindering. Like it's a barrier because it doesn't let you move forward into something that you want to do or you feel like, is gifting and calling in your life. So it's so interesting for you that is what you were. But so can you tell me then, do you still feel that? Do you feel like you've broken out of that? Or how, like, where are you now?
What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that you lead really well and that sort of thing. But I just want to know where you're coming from, like now, where you are in life.
Well, there's still some areas probably that I feel shy, but unlike before, I don't have that much hesitance to lead a group or to offer my opinions or to provide or to voice out my my ideas. I don't have that limitations already. I don't have that limitations anymore because as you've said, it's true that when you are shy, it takes away so much opportunities from you because like you can't voice out something that is a good idea. You can't be you can't contribute properly even if you have that capacity if you're shy. So but right now I think I've breached somehow that barrier.
Right, good.
Because I didn't really expect, I mean, looking back, I wouldn't have seen myself in this position where I am given the opportunity to lead and to not just within the department, but lead people from other agencies, from other units, or and lead people that I just like met or people that I really don't know. And so that itself, I think, is a feat. I consider that as a feat because, as I've said earlier, that it's really not something that it's not an environment that I grew up with. Because
how did you, do you know, like I know I'm digging in with these questions, but how did you go from being shy and never seeing yourself to where you are today? How did you break through those limitations?
I can't tell exactly the moment or the event when it happened, but I guess it's more of experience, brought about by experience, brought about by knowledge. I think if you, for example, if you continue to educate yourself, if you continue to observe and listen from others, it will give you wisdom.
True.
And wisdom makes you see things more clearly. And when you see things more clearly, that makes you more confident. Like when you have more wisdom, you will realize that, committing mistakes is okay.
True. You can learn from a mistake.
Yes.
Right? He doesn't. I like this saying that says either you're winning or you're learning.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
You're either winning. You're not winning or failing.
I'm
you're
not
not
winning,
succeeding
but
or
still
failing.
I'm learning.
But you're learning. Yeah.
So I think it goes with. I think the reason why I was able to breach that barrier, as I've mentioned, it's experience. It's continuously gaining knowledge and just being observant.
Sure. There's another phrase that says, "Just do it afraid." Sometimes you just got to do it. Did you do
Yes.
it? Did you have that? Like your times, like you're nervous, but I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to break the barrier of fear. Would that have happened in your life?
I can't remember if there's a particular incident that happened, but I think it's more of like I tried it the first time and it was like it didn't hurt me and it was okay and
Good. Okay.
and nothing bad happened. So let's do it again.
Okay.
And do it again and again, and then you just get better at it.
That is a great point. So even if we're afraid, we feel shy, but we want to take steps forward, like take a step,
Yes.
right? Like take a step and you'll find out it's okay. And even if you don't do it perfect or you, as you said before, like it doesn't have to all be done exactly right.
Yes.
Like you learn along the way. And the only way to get experience is by trying.
Yes.
So I think that's a fantastic point in breaking limitations in our life and barriers is just take a step and learn, gain that experience, get wisdom, learn from others, be inspired by others. Obviously, you've done that. You've done that in your life. Yeah. So I want to ask you, what advice would you give, especially to the young women that are out there, but of course, the young guys, the same principles apply to you, but specifically women and girls that might be in that same position that you were years ago, shy, not seeing yourself, in any type of leadership position. What advice would you give them?
For the young women and the young men out there, it's like the advice I could give them is to just try, because what I realized in my experience is that my mental fear is actually greater than the actual event.
Good point.
Like I refuse to do something because I fear that the result would be like people will laugh at me or people will criticize me. But when you actually do the deed or the thing, even if it wasn't perfect, even if it wasn't good enough, the results that you get is actually less than what you feared before doing the thing that you were
very good point.
You didn't want to do. So I guess just overcome that fear and just try one step at a time. Like for example, there are some kids or young girls who are so shy that they can't even answer a question or wouldn't even for example wouldn't even go to a store and buy something because for some reason they think that they might say the wrong words in purchasing something. So but when you actually do the deed already, and then you will realize that the effort that you spent worrying about it is not really worth it.
Yeah.
Because even if you committed the mistake, people doesn't really mind so much. So I think that's one advice I could give to our youngsters.
Yeah, that's excellent. Don't let your mind and your worry and all your thoughts and the mind looping. It's much bigger than actually doing it and learning from it. So I think that's fantastic. It's a fantastic advice and a great way to break barriers and limitations in our life, and I guess no matter where we're all coming from, whether it's shy, it's intimidated, it's afraid, so many of these different factors can happen. But take the steps forward. Don't let your mind go to all the what ifs and also worrying so much about what other people think. To be honest, it's all about what you think. It's all about what's going on inside of you. It's not what other people think that actually affects you. It's what you think. And you worried about what they think is hindering you. So you know what? Get your thoughts in order, manage your thoughts, take forward steps. And this is one of the ways that we break limitations in our life. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you just opening up and sharing a bit of your life. And I think it's so important. It's so important to understand that and to learn principles from what you've done. So just as we end, and today is the World Day Against Trafficking, any last like advice or just words of wisdom to our viewers who are anywhere around the world in terms of trafficking? What would you say?
Since it's World Day Against Trafficking, so I would want our viewers to be a part of the solution. I want the viewers to take an active role in the fight against human trafficking, no matter how small it is. Every little action that you do against human trafficking contributes a lot to the cause. As I have a favorite quote. Mm-hmm. I forgot from the name of that author, but it says that individually we are one drop, but together we are an ocean.
Yeah.
So don't think that a small act wouldn't contribute a lot, but it, no matter how small, as I've said, we will appreciate it as long as it is for the cause. And for the young women out there and also young men, don't be afraid to take a step forward. Don't be afraid to grab opportunities. There's really nothing much to fear. There's only opportunities to grab, and there's so much things you can do and you could achieve if only you could believe in yourself and in your capabilities. And don't mind what other people are going to say, because eventually your success will really depend on the things that you do and the things that you believe in.
So true. So true. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me on our
Thank
Limitless
you
live
for
stream.
inviting me.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you here, and this was very good, very insightful. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Attorney
Amy.
Flores. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, I want to thank you for joining us tonight and today, this morning, whenever you're watching out there, all of our international viewers. Again, today is the World Day Against Trafficking. Please look at our other posts and videos and pictures that we have on our social media. Please share with others. A story that I have always loved, and if you've ever been around me or heard me teach, probably you've heard me say it, but it's called the starfish story. And I often wear a starfish. Oh, I have one on. Actually, see my necklace, the starfish. And the story is about a little boy that goes down to the beach and he sees a lot of starfish that have come up onto the ocean, onto the beach from the ocean. And they're going to die there because the tide is already going out. And so he starts picking up starfish and throwing them back in the water. And there's an old man and he sees the little boy down there and he sees the massive job. Like, the beach is long and there's so many starfish. And he comes down and he says, "Little boy, what are you doing?" And the little boy looks up at him excited and says, I'm saving starfish. And the old man says to him, "What difference can one little boy like you make?" And he looks up and down and he walks over to another starfish. He picks it up and he says, "Well, I can make a difference with this one." And he throws it back in the water. I have always loved that story. Honestly, it's one of my motivations in going forward in tackling big jobs, is that I don't get paralyzed by the 40 million people that are in slavery or whatever it is, whatever issue it is, the massiveness of the job. It's so important in our lives that we actually look at what we can do, not what we can't do. There's always something we can't do, but there are always things that we can do to make a difference not only in trafficking, but in our neighborhood, with our community, in our family, with our friends, in whatever capacity of life. Maybe it's just simply loving on somebody and giving them an encouraging word. You're making a difference. So again, that's my encouragement to you today, is do what you can do, right? Focus on what you can do, what's in your hand, what's in your life, what resources and gifts do you have? And as you contribute those freely from your heart, I know that there's even biblical principle that says as we sow and as we give, more comes back to us. So thank you again for joining us on Limitless, and I just speak a blessing to you, and we'll see you next week.